Blackbird will take a shot, and that one finds Sox got a left-footed banger. He shoots it, and it's in!
McAllister with the big swing. Culminates out of the right.
Now Carnival will put it back in for Baccarat, and there it goes!
Benjamin Daniels gets the carry and bounces it out to the right side. He's inside the top.
Puts it for Vlasma! For Sammy Woods off the crossbar. Battle, out comes Etheridge! Another big, this is a shot from distance. What a save that was! Well, hello again. It is me, Jonathan Turner. It is Wednesday, January the 10th. It has been a long time since we've done a podcast here out of our Shelby Township studios. Premier Sports Center is where we are here in Shelby Township. And we are getting underway with a brand new podcast here every single Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern. And MSN Live is the name of the show. And hey, our goal here every single week will be to talk about things that are going on not only with MSN, but around the soccer world here, not just in Michigan, but all across this great country. My name is Jonathan Turner, Director of Broadcasting here for the Michigan Soccer Network. It's been some time since we've been back on the air. Our last broadcast was back in December when we did a basketball matchup here on MSN. We did a game back later in December for the UPSL, a UPSL quarterfinal matchup between the Columbus Crew and OLAFC. That was produced by us on the UPSL YouTube channel. That game, great game as Columbus Crew punched their ticket to the Final Four, which will take place in Irvine, California here first week of February here, just 3 weeks away. A lot to talk about. Lots happened since the last time that we got on the air here. And first and foremost, I'm wearing my Detroit Lions gear here today, mainly because the Detroit Lions have had a fantastic year. 12-5 is where they finished this season. Just talk about an unbelievable turnaround from 3 years ago, where they went 3-13. They have been a phenomenal team. And the big question mark, obviously, in regards to the Lions right now is whether or not they can actually, win a playoff game, their first playoff game in over 30 years. And, I'm very optimistic about this weekend. I'm curious what your thoughts are at home. One thing I always say about what we love doing here on MSN is giving you the opportunity to really chime in, give your thoughts, give your opinions about what we're talking about here, right? So get those in. Don't be afraid to get involved in the conversation. Obviously, that's an area that we thoroughly enjoy and we love that you're a part of, as part of this conversation. So make sure you do that. Hey, some housekeeping here. We're located in Premier Sports Center Studios in Shelby Township. This is where our studios have been here for the last 15 months. We just love this location. And we just want to make sure we continue to show love for Premier Sports Center and allowing us the ability to be here where soccer is happening outside our studios on a regular basis. I want to give a shout out to all of our sponsors at the bottom of our screen. Our sponsorship this year will continue to increase. We've got a lot of exciting things coming your way. And something that I wanted to talk about first here before we really dive into the show here today is just what can you expect, from this show each and every week? Hey, we're going to dive into things related to MSN. My goal with this show is to really dive into, the things that are happening within the soccer community, specifically on MSN here each and every week, every Wednesday morning. I know that might not be the best time for people in regards to when they might want to watch this. Hey, the great thing about MSN is that you can watch it anytime you like. Whether it's on live or not, we like to do live shows just because they're fun. Anything can happen in live world, and we want to make sure that you have an opportunity to watch this anytime you want to. But what's going on with MSN as far as the games that we're covering, different highlights. In a few weeks here, I'll be making an announcement here probably next week about some exciting things that are happening here with me personally in regards to my broadcasting here later this month and into February. We'll talk about that. But, each and every week we'll get into things that are going on within the soccer community. Here's the deal. There are not a lot of things out there right now in this great state of Michigan that talk about soccer. There are a lot of things out there going on where soccer is talked about, but not in regards to what is specifically happening here in Michigan. More importantly, the high school game. More importantly, the youth game. The semi-professional game. Everything in this state when it comes to soccer is undercovered. And since the day that I started this whole platform, the goal was to shine a light on soccer in Michigan at all levels. And we have been doing that and I've talked about this in buckets since the day we started this platform. And I couldn't be more excited about where we are, where we're going. I mean, we covered almost 300 games last year on this platform. 300 games, people. Everything from youth ECNL games all the way up to NISA, the National Independent Soccer Association, professional level soccer on this platform. USL League 2 and the Flint City Bucks. We covered, national semifinals. Ballard FC ended up winning the whole thing. We covered that here on this platform. We went out to Leesburg, Virginia, and covered the national finals for the spring for UPSL. Now, that was not broadcast on our platform, but it was something that we produced, that we brought to the UPSL faithful for the spring season. And, tens of thousands of people watched those games, watched what we're capable of doing, not only from the standpoint of production, but also from the commentary. All of that was done here on as part of the MSN brand. Our news site, MSN News, with our website, where, we have an unbelievable amount of content that's being produced by our director of news, Dan Stickred, on a regular basis. We took kind of December off for the most part, just because, we had, I think we wrote like somewhere upwards of 90 stories over the course of about 45 days. Like 90 stories. And it's a lot. And we had over 120,000 visitors to our website last year. Unique visitors. I think somewhere in the upwards of 150,000, something like that in total last year, to our website. We had 175,000 views last year of all of our games. And we grew up exponentially in regards to our subscribership. We started the year off around 2,500. We finished at 4,200. So 1,700 subscribers last year. I think if anyone understands how hard it is to get subscribers, it's not easy. Getting people to lock in and be able to subscribe is not an easy task. But MSN has grown over the last 3 years, and from where it was when I first started this to where it is today, it's amazing to see not only how we've grown as a business, but how we've grown throughout the soccer community here in Michigan. We cover the high school ranking shows for both boys and girls high school soccer. We've been doing that now the last 2 years. This will be our second full year with the girls season coming up here this spring. We covered our first ever state finals for high school soccer, audio only on the platform. And that, you think about this. Audio only is what we were able to do. We had 4,000 listeners on YouTube listen to the Division I state final. Unbelievable. Audio only. It's pretty remarkable when you think about it. It's pretty remarkable. What are we going to talk about today? Hey, well, we're going to get started. We're going to talk, what is this all about? I always like to say, let's get started, right? What is MSN Live? We're gonna talk about what is it. We're gonna recap again all of this year. We're gonna take a look ahead of what 2024 looks like. We'll get into talk about what next week is. We got a lot to cover here today. There are no commercials in this program. There will not be commercials. We will be just running this thing through. Our ad space is down below. So that's where our advertisers will be. If we do any type of advertising in the future, it will come in the form of whatever happens before and maybe after the show. But hey, the plan here is to just talk and to have you be a part of this. So excited about that. Again, if your first time being a part of MSN, hit that subscribe button, like us, share us, talk with your friends and family. You, the viewer, is what makes this platform, this network, what it is. So let's talk here about what MSN Live is. It's going to be whatever we want it to be. Again, when I mentioned here earlier about the plan here, this kind of came about a couple days ago. It was not something that I thought long and hard about. I just knew that I wanted to get back on the air as soon as possible. I knew that I wanted to get more content back out here while we're in kind of our winter lull. We do plan on bringing games to you here in February and into March, April, May, June. Our goal is to do 600 games this year. We did 300 in 2023. Our goal is to bring you 600 games, live games, from all different levels here across this great state of Michigan. We do plan on doing that. So we start to ramp up here in February. MSN is just one component of this overall business. Premier Media Group is our parent company. It's the company that manages all aspects of MSN. And we have PMG Sports, and PMG Sports is our all sports network. It's something that we started here back this past fall. We aired our first ever football game back in August. We did, I think, 3 football games this year. We also did basketball, volleyball. Our plan is to do baseball, lacrosse, hockey, all softball. All those things are planning to happen here in 2024. So we're not just soccer anymore. MSN will always be MSN. But we wanted to be able to provide and do more sports. And PMG Sports Network was born here in October. August. It was born in August. And, our plan is to continue to take the PMG name along with MSN and the sports side to grow this business here in 2024. That's our plan. It's when we start talking about, growth and I remember my first broadcast, my first broadcast that I did back in 2021. The first broadcast I ever did, I took my iMac. I talk about this story quite a bit, and I think it's an important story to talk about just because it talks about from where we are. I always encourage you, if you can go back and watch Game 1 on our platform, go watch Game 1 because it was a nightmare. And when I say a nightmare, I mean I was not using the technology that we're using today. I was limited with my experience. I had never broadcast a game in the history of my life. I had broadcast podcasts, so I knew how that worked. That game was, I'll tell you, it was nerve-wracking. It was there was a lot of different emotions that I felt, during that broadcast, and very interesting. But compared to what our first game we ever did to what we're doing now, it's night and day. It's night and day. And I what I would encourage you is something that I do as part of my whole process of developing and evolving the business and evolving our broadcast is looking at where we were and where we want to go, right? Something that you have to do. We have grown so much. It's not even funny. Our production value, the commentating, all of it is so much better than Game 1. And so much better than Game 180, than Game 750. We've done like over 1,000 broadcasts since our inception. And our plan is to continue to do as many as we possibly can. So MSN Live is going to be a lot of different things. It's going to be recapping the last week. It's going to be looking ahead to upcoming weeks. It's going to be looking at what's going on in soccer. We have a lot to talk about in regards to soccer here in Michigan. I mean, talk about the exciting things that have happened here in Michigan just in the last couple of weeks. We had 8 players get drafted in the MLS based out of Michigan back in December. Think about that. 8 players here from Michigan or Michigan ties get drafted here in December into the MLS. That's an amazing thing to talk about. Western Michigan University, under the head coach Chad Wiseman, and what they've been able to accomplish in the Missouri Valley Conference and in this state. They are the top college soccer men's team in the state. No question about that. The formula, the recipe that Chad Wiseman has put together at Western Michigan is nothing short of unbelievable. I mean, what they're doing with their in-state rivalries between the Big Ten opponents in Michigan State and Michigan, what they're doing here, obviously on a national level, getting as far as they did, falling to Notre Dame, in the snow. You take the snow out of that equation. Does it go to PKs? What happens? So, what a lot of great things happening. Yesterday it was announced a new coach at Oakland County FC and Steve Walker. And, something that I think when you start talking about Coach Walker has been a huge coach here in Michigan for many, many years, obviously with Vardar and over at Northwood as an assistant coach. I know Vinny Vasilevsky, who was the head coach here 2 years ago. He's the general manager. We've had Vinny Vasilevsky on the show many times, not on this show, but on our program. We've covered Oakland County FC. They've struggled to find a coach, that can stay there for a period of time. Obviously, Vinny's been there as a general manager and filled in last year when their head coach and then parted ways, during the season. But Steve Walker is someone that you would think will stick around. It's exciting news for Oakland County FC. They got a good coach there. New coach at Detroit City FC, right? And with Trevor James stepping into the front office, and now the new coach, at the helm with DCFC, who overperformed this year. Expectations for DCFC was that they were not going to make it to a playoff. They did, and then they shocked the playoff world when they took out the number one seed on their own field. Detroit City FC is another team that you think about what's going on in Michigan. And I know that we as a fan base, I think a lot of you would probably say, hey, we want to see an MLS team here in Michigan. I'm torn on that. I really am. I mean, as much as I do want an MLS team in Michigan, with the Detroit City FC being what they are, do we need one? It's a question I'll ask to you watching right now, wherever you're watching. Do we need an MLS team here in Michigan? Does that make us more relevant as a state? The closest team we have to us is the Columbus Crew, and they just won the MLS Cup, right? They just won the MLS Cup. So are we, can we say that we're associated? But to be fair, if you live in Michigan, I think everyone, for the most part, dislikes Columbus. Maybe not the Crew, but specifically Columbus. So the question goes out to you. Do you think that we're not relevant? Do you think that it hurts us to not have an MLS team here in the state of Michigan? Curious your thoughts. So MSN Live is going to be a lot of these things, these kind of conversations. I'll have guests on here from time to time, bring them in. But this is what you can expect each and every week here on MSN Live. As we get deeper into our games, highlights. We'll have highlight packages that we'll put together here on the platform. It's 10:19 here in Michigan. Yesterday, it snowed. Well, it snowed in some places. It rained in a lot of other places. My aunt, who is in Florida right now, it was like, hey, their house is located in Howell, and she's like, we've got snow all over our ground here where we're located in Shelby. Grass is as green as it's always been here. But we are expecting more snow here later this week. We're expecting snow upwards of 5 to 8 inches in some places on Friday and into Saturday. So that could very well change. But also with the Arctic blast coming here maybe next week, temperatures are expected to dip quite a bit. So last week we had something interesting happen here on MSN, or with MSN, as we were asked as one of our partners, the Nationals, as you can see on your screen. They've been a longtime sponsor, club partner of ours here on the platform, and they had asked us to cover their coaching clinic. Now, the United Soccer Coaches Convention is underway here starting next week, or later this week into the weekend, and they were, as a club, they typically go to the convention, and they opted this year to not do that as an overall club. They opted to want to do something more internally. Just getting out to California can be expensive. I mean, you're talking about flying out to L.A. Anaheim is where the convention is taking place. With hotels and flights and paying to get into the thing, it's expensive. So they asked, they want to put together like their own coaching clinic on Thursday and Friday and Saturday of last week, and they had reached out to us and said, hey, would you be willing to help us record this? And we came in and we recorded the whole event, all their classroom clinics and their field training sessions that they did. It was a really cool experience. We do a lot of recording, and I can record anything from that to whatever our customer would want us to cover. But just being able to kind of see that unfold for the first time, being a part of that, it was a really cool experience. That content will not be available for the general public, but just really kind of a cool thing for us to be able to do, provide that assistance to the Nationals, and really be able to help them, train and prepare their coaches to, for their roles and for things and how the ever-changing world in regards to coaching. It was a really, really cool experience. Let's talk about, for a moment here, is I'll put back up on the screen kind of what we're talking about here today. I'll put that on the screen here from time to time. It's one of those things where when we start talking about what happened last year here on the platform, and it was very interesting. Year 3 of MSN was fun. It was my favorite year so far. The different levels. I mean, in year 1, a lot of what we did, we covered mainly a couple of teams. We weren't charging it at the time. I really didn't know the model yet, and it was just about getting this thing going. That's really what it was all about. It was just about getting the platform, getting it all worked out, understanding kind of what production was going to look like and how we could improve that. And then in year 2, it was about really, honestly, it was about really improving quality. That was really what year 2 was all about. Figuring out the kinks and figuring out how we could deliver a much better product, to the viewer at home, right? Because we always look at this. I look at this from the standpoint of I have 2 tasks that I'm charged with when it comes to broadcasting games. The first one is the person who is asking us, or the team that's asking us to cover their game, right? We are trying to do the best we can to represent that team, that organization as best we can. And then, of course, to you, the viewer at home. My goal is to be able to provide quality at the exact same time to both customers, the viewer and the team, or in this case, sometimes teams. That's our plan. That's our goal. Does it always work out? It doesn't. Do we try as hard as hell? Of course we do. It's one of the first things I think about when we hit that record button is, how do we deliver on the promise of quality, of professional production, that delivers high-level commentary with energy and enthusiasm along with the video quality, right? That's what we try to accomplish, people. And I'll tell you right now, there are a lot of production companies out there that do what we do. They charge more money than we do, or they charge less money than we do. But I'll tell you this right now, when it comes down to it, the thing that I think is the most important part of what we do here at MSN is the names of the players on the field and the enthusiasm that we have in our voices when we're calling a game. Right? I don't like this thing where, hey, if I'm only calling this team, I'm not going to be enthusiastic when a goal goes in against them. I think that's horse crap. I think that's terrible. You're not going to get that here at MSN. Any broadcaster that we bring on here at MSN, they are going to be enthusiastic from the opening whistle to the end of the final whistle. They are going to be enthusiastic, energetic, and they are going to help carry the broadcast in a way that makes it memorable to anyone who is watching or listening. That is my commitment as this director of broadcasting. That will never change. It will never change. Passion is something that we lack, I think, a lot of times in our world, or misguided passion maybe is a better way to put it. There'll be no misguided passion with what we do. Our broadcasters, whether it's me, whether it's Dan Stickrat, it doesn't matter who is broadcasting the game. Our goal will always be to deliver on passion so that you at home feels the emotion, can get excited about what we're doing, and have fun along the way. If we can't do that, we're not doing our jobs. And that's, to me, is what sets us apart from every other broadcast company out there. Period. You know, I think that the way that we handle our broadcasts make us a better option for those of you who are looking to book games with us. Go out there and compare us. Compare what we do to the next company. You know, I talk about this. I said it kind of in the opener. There are a lot of companies out there right now, a lot of them. There are a lot of podcasts out there that pretend to be something that they are not. We have news organizations or organizations across the state that cover soccer at the very least amount possible that you could. We have organizations that are dedicated to covering soccer all over Michigan, but they don't create anything on their own. It's not created on their own. It's a repost. It's a picture. It's great for the community when there isn't anything of substance, but soccer needs more substance, people. It needs more. It needs more articles. It needs more broadcasts. It needs more. The Premier League doesn't need more coverage here in the United States, especially here in Michigan. La Liga, the MLS. Okay, great. All right, but what about Sarah and Sam, who play at Sterling Heights-Stevenson? What about them? Don't they deserve more coverage? I mean, we have the ability to cover things in today's world that when I was an athlete and playing high school soccer, those things were not even options. When my name was in the paper, I still remember opening the paper and seeing my name in there after a big game in the Oakland Press or in the playoffs, Detroit Free Press. Like, having my name in the paper was so awesome. And if any of you who are listening or watching this or seeing this here down the road, you too can remember those moments when you had your name in the paper, a picture in the paper of something that you did. It didn't have to be sports related, but just think about that emotion that you felt, that pride, that excitement that you felt when you saw your name in the paper. Here at MSN, we want to be that outlet for athletes, for soccer players, not just at the high school level, at the club level, at the semi-professional level, at the professional level. The Premier League doesn't need any more coverage from us here in Michigan. It just doesn't. While I appreciate the soccer fan wanting to know more about the Premier League, there are plenty of shows that cover that. We don't need to cover that on MSN. It's not happening in Michigan. So we'll cover things that are happening here in Michigan, like the Dream Team reveal here back in October. Back in November, apologize. 4 different months there, basically. But back in November, we covered the Dream Team reveal show where we announced the top 11 high school players in the state of Michigan, voted upon by the Michigan High School Soccer Coaches Association. Mr. Soccer was released here on this network. We covered we covered the playoffs, districts, regionals, and semifinals, all the way up to the state finals, where we covered all 4 divisions here on the network. The Flint City Bucks, the historic Flint City Bucks, they've been, they've been a team that's been relevant for over 30 years here in the state of Michigan. We covered all their games for both men's and women's this past summer. 22 games in total. Playoff games, just about everything. It was so much fun being up there at Atwood Stadium and calling games this summer. Plan to be back there again this summer covering more Flint City Bucks games. covering the UPSL Great Lakes division, this past year, and Great Lake, that's not Great Lake, Midwest East is what it's called, right? The Women's Super League, which started this year, with Aaron Roy starting that organization, that league for the women's soccer players that want to, be more competitive but not lose their summer. That's why he started that platform, and we covered those games this past summer. Plans to cover them again this summer. 2023 is pretty awesome. Everything from what I talked about to the new sports that we started here with PMG Sports. It's a pretty awesome year. So 2024, what more can you do? Well, for me, the more is going to come in the quantity of games that we're going to do this year. We want to do more high school games. We want to do more club games. We want to do more remote games. I mean, something we did last year, which I didn't really touch on yet, but we covered games here in our studio that were taking place in other states. With the Nationals, we went to Cleveland. Well, I didn't go to Cleveland. We had a camera operator in Cleveland who filmed the game in Cleveland, and I broadcasted and produced and commentated the game right here in our studio. It's pretty cool how we were able to do that. We're going to plan on doing more of those this year, covering games all over the country, right here from our studio. More games, higher quality, more podcasts, more shows, right? Getting back into the studio and doing things like this on a consistent basis. A lot going on. A lot to look forward to here in 2024 and beyond as we continue to try and grow and try and really take this thing to a whole new level. 8 players here were drafted in the MLS here back in December. Again, these all players had Michigan ties. And this, pretty cool when you think about it. For the first time, seniors, juniors, and sophomores were eligible for the draft here this year. Hugo Bacharach, who huge player for Flint City Bucks. Hugo was drafted, the highest player drafted in the MLS out of Michigan. I think he ended up being drafted like somewhere in the 8, 9, 10 spot, something like that. But you talk about a player that just, phenomenal player, helped Indiana have a really, really good season. Jason Shukaluk out of Akron, also another Flint City Buck player. He was drafted as well. He had a great senior year. Malik Henry, another University of Akron player. Toronto FC, MLS Next Academy, 5'7", 140-pound player. He was very versatile. We saw him this summer at Flint City Bucks. Again, that's 3 players just in the Bucks alone. Ethan Brandt from Western Michigan, the goalkeeper. He, too, was also drafted. Aiden O'Connor from the University of Virginia. But he went to he grew up in Grand Rapids, part of Midwest United FC. Palmer Alt, a Butler sophomore, was also drafted. Palmer Alt just actually re-signed here with the Flint City Bucks just today as well. So he'll be playing for the Bucks this summer. Jonathan Robinson, teammate of Western Michigan, Ethan Brandt. He was drafted as well. Carson Hodgins. Carson, a sophomore, who also played for the Nationals UPSL side, scoring their first ever goal in the UPSL here 2 years ago. He was drafted as well. So it's pretty cool when you have 8 players from Michigan who have Michigan ties that are being drafted into the MLS. It is 10:34 here. It's our first ever MSN Live here. And, my plan every Wednesday is talk soccer here on this platform, all things soccer here in the state of Michigan. We talked about how Steve Walker just became the new head coach of USL League 2 in the purple, bleeding purple, as they say, for Oakland County FC. Big, strong rival of Flint City Bucks. We saw that firsthand this summer. And, talk about it's a huge announcement for Oakland County FC. I am sure that they are happy with that pickup from their new coach. USL League Two is a team. It's a growing league. Expectations we'll see some more teams join the Great Lakes here this upcoming summer. I'm sure we'll have announcements about that from USL League Two here in the coming weeks, which just makes that league that much stronger here in Michigan. Keeping in mind that Flint City Bucks beat Des Moines Menace in the quarterfinals last year. They seem to always meet the Menace in the quarters. They've won the last 2 years in a row. They fell to Ballard FC, the eventual USL League Two champion, in a semifinal matchup at Atwood Stadium. Had they won that game would have been played at Atwood Stadium. The national championship game would have been, had they won. Troy Athens had won their first state championship since 2019. The win over Brighton, who has not won a state championship in their history, winning in overtime 2-1. Talk about a game. If you have not watched that game on the NFHS network, you should. If you haven't listened to it, it's available on our YouTube channel. But that game was fantastic from beginning to end. End-to-end action, a lot of different things happening throughout that match. And just a really, really, really cool game. It's interesting when I talk or think about where we were and where we are now and where we want to go as an organization, as a business. And sometimes the business and the idea or the creative side, they don't always mesh, right? They don't always work out to be on the same page. If you think about that, I mean, I'm sure for anyone who's watching or listening or tuning in, when you are thinking about, your company, your business, where you work, the environment, things don't always mesh with the business side and the creative side. They don't always work. And we're talking about production media here, right? Something that I had no experience coming in when I started all this. I had experience in marketing. I have experience in sales. I'm very good at selling and having, and having conversations with customers about their needs, their wants, and things like that. But I had never been involved in this side of production. I'll be the first one to tell you that it's difficult to be able to find a way to find that balance between a creative idea, delivering on that creative idea, and then somehow finding a way to monetize on it, right? Somehow finding a way to monetize it. It's not easy. Something that I think a lot of people struggle with. And I'm one of those people who struggle with that aspect, trying to find a way to make it all work financially while trying to deliver on the quality of that idea. It's not easy. And, when we first started this, it's hard to believe that we were using iPads. I was using a cell phone. I was using an iPad to record our games. And when you look at our games, you can tell that there is a difference between what we use now and what we used then as far as the quality of our broadcast. The commentary has basically always kind of been the same as far as, we have better quality microphones, but I don't know how much of that you can notice or tell from game 10 to game 1,300. So I don't, it's one of those things where when I talk about where we were, where we're going, and the look ahead and to what we're trying to accomplish more. In 2024, more news stories. Our plan is to produce between 30 and 40 stories a month, starting here in February, all soccer related here on the platform. Everything from youth all the way up to professional, all based on Michigan content. Not the University of Michigan, but Michigan-based content. That's our plan. So if you like to read articles about soccer, you're going to see a ton of them on our MSN news side of our website. Hey, our merch is going to continue to grow. We did some good numbers last year in merch. That will continue to increase here in 2024. So our expectation is we're going to have more opportunities purchase merch. You know, I think that when it comes to the soccer community here in Michigan, it's pretty special. I think there's like somewhere upwards of 90,000 families that are part of soccer here in Michigan. Probably more than that now. That was from a couple of years ago. It's a pretty cool community to be a part of. The support that we've gotten here at MSN in regards to, the overall, what we're doing here with MSN has been just nothing short of spectacular. And, I expect as we continue to grow, we'll continue to get that feedback. And it's one of those things where for someone that sitting in this chair and calling games and going to these facilities a weekend, night in, night out, week in, week out, throughout the last 3 years, I've learned a lot about parents. I've learned a lot about players and about coaches and the inner workings of how it works within this process. And I've had a chance to meet a lot of different really cool people in this industry. And something that I think is really important to say is that, the amount of work that goes into what we do, it's a lot. When I first started doing this, it took me probably about 20 hours to prepare for one game, from production to the commentating to all that. It doesn't take as long as it did. I think now I could probably say arguably it takes probably somewhere in the neighborhood between 3 and 4 hours to produce a game from from beginning to end. Not counting obviously the actual game day experience, but it takes us a lot of time to prepare for, the rosters, prepare for, the press box, whatever the case might be. There's a lot that goes into producing a game. It's a lot. The graphics, the commercials, the advertisements, the score bugs, everything that we do, it takes time to create that. And, as over the years, clearly I've been able to find a way to reduce, create more opportunities, be more efficient in those time periods to make it a better production, but also save time while doing it. We've been able to do that. So I've been able to cut 16 hours out of prep. It's pretty cool that I've been able to do it that. And I do think that I might be able to get that down to like an hour now. So maybe find another way to reduce the 3 hours out of production now. To produce this show takes time. And, I've learned over the years of how to do better with that. But to cut the BS out, to cut right to the point and to talk about what's going on in the state of Michigan when it comes to please tell me what organization does it better. I would love to know. Soccer in Michigan, who does it better? Because I don't, when I say does it better, I'm not talking about writes a better article. I'm not talking about produces a better soccer game. I'm saying overall in the state of Michigan, which organization, which podcast or Twitter account, Instagram, tell me which one does it better. I would love to know, because our goal is not only to be the best, it's to be the most thorough. Right? When you think soccer, I want MSN to be right there. When you think youth soccer, I want MSN to be right there. Think about that. And I know that right now in the last month, we haven't posted a lot. And a lot of that's because we're going through, we wrapped up our high school season between April 1st and November the 4th. We did 297 games, to put things in perspective. I was exhausted on November 5th. So, and there's a retooling, kind of a regrouping, kind of like, hey, I need to take a break. And December was my break, and part of January, our goal is to get back up with our February content here, starting very quickly. But who does it better? When it comes to soccer in Michigan, who does it better? I'd love to know. A year ago, you probably could say other organizations, but right now, when it comes to soccer only, who does it better? I would love to know your thoughts on that. And if we're not there yet, then I have to work harder. Because my goal is to be the number one source for soccer in Michigan. And while, hey, part of this process of being the best and getting that point where you're the most thorough and you're the place that you're going to turn to. And when you think about, ESPN, for the longest time, ESPN was the place that people would turn to get all things sports. Is that the case today? Probably not. You probably can go to Barstool. You can go to MSN. Like Yahoo. There's a lot of different places that one could go to get more information or to get information, stats, scores, whatever. I want, when it comes to soccer in Michigan, I want MSN to be the ESPN of soccer. I want that to be the place that you turn to, that is your most trusted place to go. Like, that's what I want it to be. Are we there yet? Probably not. Are we close? Yeah. But when I say things like this, I think it's important because there are a lot of other podcasts out there. There are a lot of other channels that do things where they talk about, hey, we are all of these things and more. It's not the case. And honestly, I don't worry about the other places. I don't. I do my research. I look at these organizations as a whole. I try to find out where they might be, their shortcomings, and I figure out if we can improve on that. So like anything else, my job is to pay attention to the competition, whether that be the broadcasting, the news side, the podcast side, doesn't matter. My job is to have a clear understanding of what everybody else is doing and then use that information to see if we can do it better, to see if we can fill in the holes. Soccer deserves more. These players, they deserve more. They deserve more from me. They deserve more from you. They deserve more from the mainstream media, sports media here in this country. And if this can be the foundation, I'm okay with that. But we could all do better. We could all do better. It's 10:48 a.m. here. We are located in our Premier Sports Center studios here in Shelby Township, Michigan. I'm Jonathan Turner, Director of Broadcasting for the Michigan Soccer Network. This is MSN Live, our first ever show here. This podcast available on all of our platforms, on YouTube as well as Facebook, Twitter. Try to get Instagram going here today. Don't know if we got on Instagram, but we're talking about MSN Live and what this show is all about, what we're trying to accomplish. And what I want to make it clear is that I don't want it to sound like I'm disingenuous to anyone out there that's providing soccer content in the state of Michigan. I'm just saying that, there are, when I look at the landscape of production and broadcasting and soccer in this state, I can't see any other organization right now delivering to the level that we are delivering on a regular basis. And I know that, if you're listening, you're watching, you're tuning in, you are thinking about, hey, tag us all. Tag every organization here in Michigan. Because the more eyeballs, the better it is for you. That you have a better chance of getting that coach to see who's, maybe following all of them or following one of them. So it's great to connect and post and share. But for me, I want to be a content creator. Like, we want to be able to create content, right? We want to be able to be the microphone and the notebook, where you can open it up and see. And it was created by us. I'm not a big fan of reposting something. You know what I mean? I'm just not. I try. I mean, obviously, if someone's tagging us, I will try to like it and share it and then repost it for them. But like, I'm not a reposter. Like, I'm not going to take an article that somebody else wrote and then repost it. I feel like you're taking ownership of something that's not yours. Maybe even if you're commenting on it, that's fine, I guess. But I don't believe in doing that. You know, I just don't. So, you know, my message to you, the viewer out there, is that Michigan Soccer Network is the place that I want everyone to go to when it comes to thinking about all things soccer. Our website, MichiganSoccerNetwork.com, our social media, MI Soccer Network, right? That's where I want you to go. That's where I want you to think about going when it's time for soccer. Broadcasting. Think this way. Think about being able to just turn on our YouTube channel or a platform just like it where you could just turn it on and there's soccer always on. Like, that's where this is going. Think 24 hours a day. All things soccer here in Michigan. Think about that. That's where this is going to go. Not 1 hour a day. Not one game a day. Just imagine a time where you could turn on this on MSN, and there you have everything from 7v7 indoor soccer, futsal, to high-level academy youth, all the way up to the highest level of professional soccer that we can broadcast here in the great state of Michigan and across this country. Imagine that 24 hours a day on MSN. Like, that is where we are going with this. And there's not another organization right now that's capable of doing that. Not here in Michigan. So that's where we are going with this. That's where I'm taking this. I want 24-hour content. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's, if you're not watching soccer, you've got shows like this where we bring in hosts and we have guests. Think that way each and every day of the week. That's where this is going to go. What's going to happen here next week? It's a great question. I don't know, not that anyone asked me a question, but I'm just going to answer it. Hey, every Wednesday at 10 a.m. And the reason behind a lot of the fact that it's 10 a.m. is that I got to get out here to the studio, and so I felt like Wednesdays, because the other part of this too is that one of the core reasons why we can't do a lot of shows during the week is because live soccer, right? Bringing you a live soccer game, we feel is like a more important thing than maybe me sitting behind this microphone like I am right now, where maybe like, man, this guy's ranting or something. But the plan is to bring you live shows like this during the morning and early afternoon, and then transition into our later games, going here into February and March. So that's our plan. So that will start to happen here later in February. The other side of this too, which I touched on a little bit, is about PMG Sports. Our PMG Sports Network, that is our all sports network, where we cover everything from soccer all the way up, to football, basketball, baseball, softball, lacrosse, and our plan is to grow that platform here in 2024. So you're going to see a lot more content about that, not only through this channel, but through all of our other channels that we have. So stay tuned for that. But a lot of really exciting things happening here this year. A lot of really exciting things happening on YouTube and across our platforms. We launched MSN Plus here back in October, November. And, that's been a really, really cool endeavor. We're going to continue to grow that. That's our paid membership side. For $7.99 a month, you get access to, all of our games that we produce, and exclusive content that's coming here only for those members. That'll start to launch here later this first quarter. So a lot of really, really cool things happening. Subscribe. Like us, share us with your friends and family. I always say that. I think it's really, really important to make sure you share this with your friends and your family. Hey, if you want one of your games booked, we're now booking our 2024 full year. So if you want to get a game booked on our platform, you want a tournament booked, reach out to us. You can reach out. You can head over to our MichiganSoccerNetwork.com website. You can also head over to the PremierMediaGRP.com. That's actually available on the bottom of our screen here if you're watching. So that is where you can go to book games and get more information about what our bookings look like here in 2024. Aside from that, we're going to wrap this show up here, our first ever show here on MSN Live. It's going to be a weekly show that we produce. A big announcement here next week in regards to what's going on with me, in regards to next month. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about things that are happening across this great state in regards to soccer. There are so many great things to uncover, and let's do it. If you want to have a comment or you want to have a topic that we talk about on this show, all you got to do is go to MichiganSoccerNetwork.com and let us know what topics you want to hear on MSN Live, or put them in the comments, and we'll happily have those conversations and talk about things that are all soccer related only here on MSN Live every single Wednesday starting at 10 a.m. Eastern. My name's Jonathan Turner. You've been watching a production of the Michigan Soccer Network. We'll see you next time.